Is it time for you to sell your Liverpool players? Which cheap midfielders are absolutely running FPL right now? And which teams have the best fixture runs in FPL? Guys, we're back with another transfer tips video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. As always with these videos, we are going to look at the fixture runs from best to worst in the Premier League across the next 6 game weeks. Obviously, with the earlier game weeks carrying more influence than the later ones. Now, out of all the transfer tips videos I've ever done, there's never been more than 3 teams in the top tier for a fixture run, but this game week there is 5. Arsenal and above all have really good fixture runs that you want to be taking advantage of. Obviously, there's teams like Leeds and Wolves here that you don't really want to own a lot of players from, but there are some players that are quite good for those teams. For example, you have Stark from Leeds or Strand Larsen from Wolves. And some of you may be surprised to see Wolves at number 1 because game week 10, 11 and 12 aren't exactly great. It's 2 grey fixtures and a red fixture. But like I said, the earlier game weeks carry the most influence. It's just that the first 3 fixtures are so good, you really want to be taking advantage of the Wolves players while you can. Obviously, Sunderland away may not be as easy as it seems, but Sunderland have been fairly fortunate in some of their games and they haven't always deserved the win. They've maybe deserved a draw or a loss and they've come away with 3 points. So I don't think their success is going to continue as much as it has been recently. At the same time, I don't think they're going to be a team that gets relegated this season. I think teams like Arsenal, Newcastle and Brighton especially are the ones you want to be targeting this game week. Especially Arsenal. They've done pretty well this season despite having arguably the toughest fixture run at the beginning of the season. Their defence has done really well. Recoveries, considering the teams he's faced, has done pretty well with goal scoring as well. So while he doesn't seem great value at the moment, he is probably a player you'd be looking to target. Brighton obviously have a lot of rotation in their attack, so you want to be careful of that. And you're looking at Newcastle, their defence is actually really strong this season. I know you don't normally consider Newcastle a really strong defence, but Eddie Howe's Newcastle 2 or 3 years back was actually one of the strongest defences in the league, and it looks like they're going back to that sort of style of play where they're focusing on the defence more than the attack. So yeah, all 5 of those teams, you want to target players from those teams. I made a players to buy video earlier this game week, so if you want to check that out, make sure you do. We look at the top 5 players in each position, and a lot of players from these teams will feature in that video. We don't have enough time to go through them all today because the transfer tips video is a little different. We're going to be looking at the fixture runs, the most on-topic players, and some recommended transfers. So make sure you check that out if you are interested. West Ham is an interesting one here. You guys see them near the bottom, but their fixture run actually looks really good from game week 8 onwards. And next game week in the transfer tips video, they might even be in the top tier. Despite being quite low this game week, the only reason they're so low is because their entry point is awful. Playing away to Arsenal is arguably the hardest fixture in the league. So I wouldn't recommend buying West Ham players this game week, but players like Bowen and players like Diouf should definitely be on your radar for game week 8 and onwards. Another talking point we have here is Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace players are high in demand, and I'm recommending a lot of Crystal Palace players too, like Munoz, Sarr and Mateta, despite them having one of the worst fixture runs in the league. And that's because the Crystal Palace players' underlying data is amazing, and Crystal Palace are proving to be one of the best teams in the league this season. So while the fixtures don't seem all that great for them, and they're not, you may need bench cover for game week 9, the Crystal Palace players are still good to target because even after game week 9, their fixture run gets really good. And that's a common theme with some of the teams at the bottom there, along with Fulham and Liverpool. The next 3 game weeks aren't good, so they're not good fixture runs, but in a few game weeks time, they could find themselves having one of the best fixture runs in the league. So monitor all of those teams, and if you believe in them long term, you could even look to target players from those teams. I personally believe Crystal Palace are a good team to target, but all 3 teams below, Fulham, Liverpool and Brentford, are avoids, especially because their attacks aren't that good this season. Looking at Liverpool, even though they've scored a lot of goals, I do think you should be selling your Liverpool players because there's rotation risk there with Champions League football. You've got Salah, who is supposed to be the main Liverpool attacker, but for 14.5 million, he is way too overpriced. Then you have Isak, who's looking to be the starting striker at 10.5 million, but with the fact he's not on penalties and he is bad form, he's also looking overpriced. Then you have Gakpo and Ekitike, who are both rotation risks with Isak joining the team in Champions League football. And finally, Wirtz, who was just on the worst form of his life. So while Liverpool do look like a great team and a great attack, in reality, in FPL terms, there's not really a single good attacker to own. And we also have Chelsea, who are similar to West Ham in the sense that after they play that tough game, their fixture run is going to be one of the best fixture runs in the league. So make sure you keep an eye on Chelsea players. If you do have Chelsea players, I would recommend starting them for that Liverpool game because the Liverpool defence is not as strong as it was last season. There's definitely a couple goals in that game for Chelsea if they play well. And definitely don't sell your Chelsea players because, like I said, their fixture run gets really good after this next game week. There's a lot more I could talk about here, but that's the main bulk of it, guys. These are the main talking points. If there's any more, feel free to leave a comment down below. Anyway, let's look at the main two cheap midfielders that I think are absolutely about to dominate FPL. Two really low ownership players in Ismaila Sarr and Yankuba Minteh, if that's how you say his name. I'm not 100% sure. These guys both have really good underlying data. I know the Sarr data is so good that it kind of makes the Minteh data look bad, but his data is not bad, trust me guys. Both of these guys have really good underlying data. Now, Minteh's data, we're looking at game week 3 to 6 because those were his last 4 appearances. Ismaila Sarr, we're looking at game week 1 to 6 because those were his last 4 appearances. He did not feature in game week 4 or 5, if memory serves correct. So we're looking at the last 4 game weeks of each of these players. We're comparing them, but also showing why they're both amazing. Both under 6.5 million. Both don't have the highest point tallies at the moment. As we said earlier, the Crystal Palace fixture run isn't that good and you need to take that into consideration. Whereas the Brighton fixture run is actually one of the best in the game. And Minteh is the only player in the attack who isn't a rotation risk like the rest of the attackers. If we look towards the expensive midfielders, you've got Odegaard, Mbeumo, Bruno, Wirtz, for example. All of these guys are terrible and they don't look like they're scoring anytime soon. Well, Bruno and Mbeumo do. I mean, if Bruno scored that penalty last game week, he would have had a goal and Mbeumo would have had an assist. But because he missed it, the second penalty miss this season, he's not got any points, nor has Mbeumo. So while those two mid-price midfielders do look like scoring, a lot of the other ones don't look good at all. Whereas the cheap ones like Minteh and Sarr, and there's more to name as well. You've got Murphy, who's looking quite good on that Newcastle fixture run. You've got Stark from Leeds. You've even got Jadon Anthony from Burnley, costing 5.6 million, who's looking like one of the best midfielders in the game with good underlying data to back it up. So I'd recommend a lot of you this game week go for them cheap midfielders while they're low owned, because all of these guys that have good underlying data through their bad fixture runs, they're all coming onto a good fixture run now, and you want to be taking advantage of it because their points are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger the easier the games get. Looking at Sarr here, across the last 4 game weeks, looking at data per 90, the only person better in their last 4 game weeks in terms of the data and the points is Erling Haaland. So technically speaking, Sarr is one of the best players to own in FPL if it weren't for his bad fixture run. And you can see with this data, even with the tough fixtures, he could be coming away with some goals. His finishing isn't amazing though, despite the fact he is overperforming his expected goals. He does have a tendency to miss an easy chance now and then, and it will be annoying when you own him because it is going to happen. But he's going to be getting a lot of big chances, so you will still be getting points along with those big chance misses. Whereas Minteh, he's not really used to being a good FPL asset. Sarr last season was amazing to own, and he is this season. Minteh, he's never really been an amazing FPL player, but the underlying data is looking the best it ever has for him. He's got a goal threat, he's got assist potential, he may even hit defcons now and then. And I wouldn't expect massive hauls from the guy, like he would never be a captaincy option, but at 5.9 million, 6 million if his price goes up, he is definitely one of the best value players in the game right now, and you want to take advantage of that Brighton fixture run. Looking at some recommended transfers now, I did say Liverpool players are worth selling, and I do believe it. Out of all the Liverpool players in the game, I think Van Dijk is one you can hold on to if you really can't make that transfer, but switching from Van Dijk to Gabriel like you see here is a really good idea, but we'll get onto that. First, we want to talk about Salah to Haaland. Obviously, you can't make a straight swap from Salah to Haaland, you know, they're different positions. But that's not the point. What I'm trying to say is if you have Salah and don't have Haaland, make sure you fund that transfer with Salah. If you need to take a -4, you should do it. It's way too late to be owning Haaland, but still it's a lot better to own him than to not own him. If you think owning Salah is a good idea, I understand you may think he's great because of how he's been in the past, but I assure you at 14.5 million, with the underlying data and the fixture run, he is not worth it. He's maybe worth 10 million at best. That extra 4.5 million you can spend better elsewhere. So if you have Salah and don't have Haaland, make sure you're making that move before the next game week. Then we have Van Dijk. Now, like I said, you could hold him if you don't have that free transfer available or you need to make another transfer. You have more pressing matters. I do believe Gabriel is one of the best players in the game to own right now. In the next 6 game weeks, I imagine him keeping at least 3 clean sheets. And I may be jinxing Arsenal, but their defense is so damn good this season. You just can't ignore it. And it's not like they're new to being a good defense. The last 3 or 4 years, they have been the best defense in the league. And Gabriel's got the goal threat. He's hit defcons twice this season. He's a player that's going to get so many points season long. As long as he doesn't get injured, he will probably be the highest scoring defender in the game. And with Van Dijk, like, he has got defcon potential and the fixtures do get good in a few game weeks time. The Liverpool defence is nowhere near as strong as the Arsenal defence. In fact, it's not even as strong as the Bournemouth defence. It's not even as strong as the Newcastle defence. So Van Dijk is looking a little overpriced, in my opinion, a player you don't really need to own. Then we have the rotation risks. Ekitike has got to go. If you can afford Gyökeres by selling Ekitike, definitely do that. He's only 0.3 mil extra. But if you can't afford that, look into the likes of Larson is probably the best thing you can do. Or you can look to Mateta. It's just you need to be careful of that rotation risk because Crystal Palace are going to be playing quite a lot in the midweek. If it was me, I'd go to Larson because I believe in the differential play. I think the fixtures are too good to pass up, and I think Wolves will score a couple more goals than they have been in the next few game weeks. The point is, just make sure you sell an Ekitike for one of Larson, Gyökeres or Mateta, whichever one you believe in the most. Me personally, I think Larson is the best if you cannot afford Gyökeres. Then we have Gakpo to Sarr. Guys, if you have Wirtz but not Gakpo, this still applies to you. You want to be getting rid of Wirtz. If you're still holding him after this many game weeks, I'm shocked, and fair play to your patience, but it's not paid off and it's not going to pay off anytime soon. Moving to Ismaili Sarr is definitely the best thing you can do this game week. I think Minter is probably better value at 0.5 less, but since you can afford Sarr with ease, considering Gakpo and Wirtz are fairly expensive, you can move to Sarr without thinking about the budget too much. Obviously, if you're one of those slow FPL players that doesn't own Semenyo, definitely move to Semenyo first of all. Semenyo is still the highest priority midfielder in the game, but because most people watching this probably own Semenyo, I'm not going to recommend him. I do understand there's a lot of people with Liverpool players in their team, and there's a lot of Liverpool fans out there, and there's a lot of people who know how good Liverpool were last season and they believe they can carry it on this season because they begun the first 5 game weeks with 5 wins. They did not deserve 5 wins, guys. I'm not going to lie. I know I'm biased. I'm not a Liverpool fan myself, so it's easy for me to say this. But they do not deserve to be first in the league right now. They don't. Their attack has been worse than last season. Their defence has been worse than last season. And it was about time they finally got a loss. So while Liverpool are still one of the best teams in the league, they're definitely overhyped in terms of FPL because not a lot of their assets are good. Like I said earlier, they are quite overpriced. Guys, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. You are greatly appreciated. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. And I will see you all in the next video.